Welcome to Realms of the Other World, Episode 11, The Myrtles Plantation. The Myrtles Plantation is known as one of the most haunted houses in America. Legends, history, death, and murder have occurred here, more than enough to elicit the spirit activity that is said to take place there today. In St. Francisville, Louisiana, sits a beautiful property that is full of live oak trees, crepe myrtle trees, and azaleas. Upon this land in 1796, a plantation named Laurel Grove was built by General David Bradford. He obtained a large land grant here of 650 acres from the Baron de Carondelet to begin a new life. He and his wife and 5 children lived there. General Bradford passed in 1808, and his wife Elizabeth ran the plantation until 1817. At that time, her son-in-law took over the property. He and his wife Sarah had 3 children. 2 children died of yellow fever, as did Sarah herself. In 1831, Elizabeth, her mother, died. At this time, Clark Woodruff had a caretaker watch the property. In 1834, he sold the land, the buildings, and the slaves to Ruffin Gray Sterling and Mary Catherine Cobb. They named the property the Myrtles Plantation. The Sterlings were responsible for making the plantation house the opulent residence it is today. The house has 22 rooms and 2 floors. They doubled the size of the house, added marble to the ground floors, arched mantels in Rococo Revival style, with central console keystones or cartouches, plaster ceiling medallions, a 300-pound baccarat crystal French chandelier, and a stained glass entry to ward off evil. The 125-foot veranda is one of the trademarks of the house, with elaborate ironwork railings. A pond is also on the property, with a gazebo island. In 1854, Mr. Sterling died and left the property to his wife. The house managed to survive the Civil War, but was robbed several times. Mary Sterling hired William Winter to help run the plantation. Mr. Winter ended up marrying her daughter, Sarah, and they had 6 children. One daughter, Kate, died from typhoid at age 3. In 1871, William went to investigate a voice outside on the front porch calling his name, and he was shot and killed. Sarah and her siblings stayed with her mother at the house until Sarah died in 1878. Her mother, Mary Cobb Sterling, died in 1880. Her son Stephen took on the property and sold it in 1889. After that, the house exchanged hands several times. In 1891, Harrison Milton Williams bought the property. After his death, the house was divided among the heirs in the 20th century. In 1950, the house was sold to Marjorie Munson, who noticed strange happenings on the plantation that were possibly paranormal. The house exchanged hands many more times up until Frances Kermeen Myers purchased the property and turned it into a bed and breakfast. Frances wrote a book about the hauntings, and she touted it as one of the most haunted houses in America. The current owners, John and Tita Moss, welcome the paranormal activity and offer day tours, evening tours, and private tours, in addition to lodging and dining. So now, let's explore the mysterious stories of hauntings at the Myrtles Plantation. According to legend, the Myrtles Plantation was built upon a Tunica Indian burial ground. People have reported sightings of a young female Native American woman on the property. The most well-known story is about a slave named Chloe, who worked on the plantation during the time of the Woodruffs. She was the servant to the family. One version said that Clark Woodruff may have forced her into being his mistress and that she had intentionally eavesdropped on a private conversation, and they caught her in the act and had her ear cut off. Another version said that there was another slave that had his affections and that she was jealous. And yet another version doesn't mention her being a mistress at all, and that she just eavesdropped. Either way, it seems all the stories say that her ear ended up being cut off, and she wore a green turban after that. The next part claims that Chloe was not happy about her ear and was planning to either kill the family with a cake that she added poisonous oleander to, or she was going to make the family slightly ill with oleander in a cake and nurse them back to health to gain favor with them. She made the cake, added oleander, and Sarah Woodruff and the 2 children partook, and they died. Chloe was said to have been hung by other slaves on the property and thrown into the Mississippi River. To this day, visitors claim to see an African American woman with a green turban on the property. This story, although popular, may not be true. It doesn't match up with the documented history at all. There was no record of a Chloe. One of the daughters that supposedly died actually lived into adulthood, and Sarah, James, and Cornelia actually died from yellow fever. Yet people do say they see this African American woman in a green turban. In fact, one of the owners recently accidentally caught an apparition in a photo of the house that was for the insurance company. This figure looks human in form, and the photo was analyzed, and sure enough, the proportions do point to it being human, and yet you can see the side of the house through this figure. It closely resembles an African American woman in period clothing with a turban. Another paranormal claim is that of a man moaning, and then footsteps are heard walking up the stairs. This could possibly be related to the shooting of William Winter. After he was shot on the porch, which is recorded in the historical records, it is said that he crawled inside and climbed up the stairs and died, perhaps in Sarah's arms, on the 17th step of the front staircase. 2 spirits, that of a child and of another African American woman, are also said to be seen. The story is that a young child was sick and that the family hired a voodoo practitioner to heal the child. This child could possibly have been Kate, William Winter's 3-year-old daughter that died from typhoid. Legend says that the voodoo practitioner was named Cleo and that she did not save the child, and she was hung in the front yard from a large tree. Some stories say that during the Civil War, Union soldiers were killed in the house, and that there is a human-shaped bloodstain in the front doorway that won't come out. An old mirror on the first floor is said to be haunted by Sarah Woodruff and her 2 children. In the olden days, mirrors were supposed to be covered after a death. The story goes that when they died, this mirror was not covered, so it captured their spirits. They are seen near the mirror, and you can supposedly see their fingerprints on the mirror. On a 2001 episode of Unsolved Mysteries, the crew visits the Myrtles and interviews several people about their experiences. An overnight guest felt a child jumping at the end of their bed in the middle of the night, supposedly in the room of the Woodruff's daughters. In 1970, a yard care worker saw an old man in overalls that may have been the old caretaker from 1927 that was reportedly robbed and killed. A couple that spent the night in a room near the staircase said they heard loud knocking and footsteps. Perhaps this was William Winter? The production crew for Unsolved Mysteries said that they had several electrical issues, cameras malfunctioned, cell phones didn't work, and walkie-talkies acted up. In 2014, a Ghost Adventures TV show visited the Myrtles Plantation. They interviewed employees and guests. Hester Eby, who has worked at the house for decades, saw a little girl walking with a couple up to the house. When she mentioned how cute their daughter was, they replied that they didn't have a daughter. One man claimed to have been sleeping and his bed began to shake violently. And also, a little girl and little boy have been seen on the property. The Ghost Adventures team had several experiences around the front staircase. They heard knocking and voices of a female on the spirit box. They also felt lightheaded and dizzy on the staircase, and got an EVP of a man moaning. Could this have been William Winter? Also, they had an experience of a living room door rattling very loudly. A strange mist on their infrared camera was caught in the same area, and a ball was launched by itself off of the 17th step of the stairway. Perhaps this was one of the children's spirits seen on the property? These are just some of the ghostly legends of the Myrtles Plantation. Some of them may be true, and others may be just stories passed down over the years. Either way, the activity at the plantation cannot be denied. Do you dare stay the night? Lodging and tour information is below. Thank you for watching Realms of the Other World. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the big thumbs up button if you liked this video. And if you would like to support the channel, please visit our Patreon page. Links are in the description area below the video screen. Have a great evening. Take care.